Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Procure Smarter podcast. I am your host, Dr. Sharon Cook, and today we are talking to Mr. Shawn Tarter. Shawn is the founder and president of RealTime Reservations. It's a global software that offers pre-arrival services and activities for guests, as well as upgrades to booking process. It's a software that helps hotels exceed the guest expectations with more efficiency and less staff. And Shawn is based in New York, so we're looking forward to talking to him. Okay, everybody, we are sponsored by the Procure Smart Purchasing Agency. If you have a new build, construction, renovation, conversion, PIP, we would love to help you with that. Reach out to us. We are looking forward to hearing from you. Okay, everybody, I feel like I need to bring it down a minute today. I need some less coffee, don't I? Hold on, we'll be right back with you. Hi, everybody. We are back as promised with Mr. Shawn Tarter, founder and president of RealTime Reservations. Shawn, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for doing this. Okay, let's talk about, I'd like to talk a little bit about your journey. I know that's very touchy-feely, but I'd like to hear how you got to this point. Like, you obviously didn't just wake up and at the very beginning of your career and start RealTime. How did you get here?
Yeah, look, I've always been operation focused. I always realized there's a better way to do things. Manual effort of any kind, even before the major staff shortage that we see across the board today in hospitality, always kind of meant something to me. Always an opportunity to work better, work smarter. I always wanted to also believe in an audit trail. I think that it's better for workers and for staff and for managers to believe in each other. So transparency was always important between staff and obviously ownership, things like that. Yeah, so we really pretty much founded RealTime Reservation on a vacation, on a personal vacation, waiting in line for a palapa, which is an umbrella structure in the sand. We did it in Aruba, and realized waiting online, waking up early, looking at how hotel guests would reserve structures with a flip-flop or a towel, realizing how the staff would lose reservations, or they would give you a reservation with a piece of paper, but you're in a bathing suit. It's just very difficult to, and if a structure, an umbrella, a cabana was out of order, how do you communicate that with the concierge team who might be sitting inside the hotel a mile away from the outside beach area with the recreation team? So that there was a need for the staff and for the guests to communicate all at the same time, to book things in real time, which is how we developed our name, where there was an efficiency concept to it, but also the guests felt it was fair, a fair way to book vacation time. And then obviously the revenue teams got a hold of us at the hotels, working with the operations side, and they said, you know what? We can really create experience for guests before they get to the hotel. So it really started out as inventory management to a very high level, beach structures, chairs, pool chairs, cabanas, things like that. And then we started evolving as the need came out, especially during COVID, as the ability of after the room is booked, what would the guest like when they get to the property? What would they like to do? So obviously the pool and beach area is always great, but what about activities? What about excursions? Can I organize something as a guest 8 months away? Can I pay for it at that moment with a credit card and to secure it? And can I really create an itinerary? Can I get the cabana while someone's at the spa getting a spa treatment while the kids are at the kids club? Can I book a snorkeling adventure? Can I look at arts and crafts or photos with Santa Claus, things like that? And that's really where this evolved over to. And now we do a lot of stuff with looking at parking and reserving that in advance and reserving meeting rooms. So we really became more than a one-stop shop. We really became the hotel's ancillary revenue system. So they really rely on us. And then obviously when you evolve and you have something that works pretty nicely for some properties, the brands get involved. And when the brands get involved, they hold you to a certain standard. So all of a sudden we're realizing that, and this is 9 years ago now, that we want to make sure that we have the right insurance in place. And a lot of hotels are happy that we have all these master agreements because it implies all these things. It implies all that you have insurance, 18 kinds of insurance, that you have the right security measures in place also. Because now we're not just taking credit cards, but we're actually integrating the credit card into the hotel's credit card system, into the hotel's merchant ID. So when a guest is paying for that item, it is now being sent right to the hotel's bank account, pretty much, their merchant ID. So it's important that RealTime Reservation doesn't hold any money, that the hotel is actually holding it, because when the hotel holds the money, the guests go to the hotel, the guest can change the reservation. The hotel can create a cancellation policy now. So it's really important that the hotel actually holds on to the money. And we're also very cognizant of the fact that when you're holding other people's money, it's really important that you do the right thing with it. So early on, we worked with the brands, and all the brands are part of us. So most of them, the larger ones, are working with us very closely on making sure that the hotel guest is paying the hotel and not an intermediary, not a vendor. A few weeks ago in Miami, it was a great vendor. They were doing room service for all the hotels in the area. They realized there was a need for a third party to create room service. I thought it was a great idea. What I didn't realize is that that vendor was accepting credit cards from the hotel guest and was not directly integrating into the hotel's credit card system. And then all of a sudden, that vendor goes out of business. It happened a few weeks ago, and took all the money from the hotel with it because they were holding on to the money. So we do a lot of work with the hotels to make sure that, first of all, they understand the credit risk of who they're dealing with. It has to be done a certain way, a certain method. It needs to be approved at the brand level. You need to have security review everything. And then what we really like to do is work with the accounting and revenue teams, and every transaction when the guest arrives is processed through a micro symphony terminal or Agilysys Infogenesis or a lot of different point of sales, because when the guest arrives is when you can recognize the revenue. So you have a situation where the guests are paying with a credit card maybe 8 months early, and then when they arrive on the property, the check has to open up. And when that happens, you have a perfect situation for the accounting and revenue teams to recognize revenue, to track each guest and what they're doing. It's just a really nice way for the property to make sure they're managing all their revenue opportunities effectively. And then once you do that, you can offer whatever you want to your guests.
So it brings up a couple questions. This is obviously a very technology-driven software, right? So what steps did you take to make this user-friendly? Do you have guests that are like my age, in the 50s who find it daunting to use this kind of system, or are you finding it very easy and intuitive?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. We used to think that there were different age groups that would benefit. We thought that people at senior levels, 80, 90 years old, would have no idea. But what happened was we started out working for about 2 years at properties without even getting paid. This was strictly research. We worked with the actual recreation teams that were older, that were not tech savvy. I don't think they're really age, just the fact that if you're tech savvy, if you like it, if you want it. And we really built a system that everyone can understand. And we were looking at, probably before COVID, about 75% of guests would book directly through our site instead of calling the hotel. During COVID, it's over 95%. It's across every age group. Everyone used Instacart because they had to eat, right? So everyone was figuring out ways to order food because you had no choice. Cabanas weren't as important as eating. It is to us, obviously, but so people started to learn how to use technology because they needed to get around. But our systems were in place and they were simplified to that point anyway. So now we see people for the past 2.5 years, really since COVID, such high demand for everything to be in front of them. Everything is QR codes through us. You're accessing every food item. You're accessing every yoga class through us, every shuttle service to Disney World, airport shuttle. Everything is happening through us. through QR codes across every age group, every technology skill level. It's gotten to the point, and we keep doing it on our side. We keep redesigning the site to make it more intuitive, redesigning it to make it encompass more items. It's really about planning your journey and to make sure that you can do it with the hotel staff as well. So we really consider ourselves more of a hotel concierge. One of our sales, marketing, pushes really with properties is, if your concierge team had an unlimited technology budget, that would be us. So it's more than just white labeling into the property. It's that the staff is actually using our services when the guests come to ask, can I change my golf from Tuesday to Thursday? The staff and the guests are using our technology, but they're acting as they've always done. So on a luxury property, you don't really want your guests going to, on a Sunday night, calling up a vendor, a software vendor. You want them really going to your concierge or going to your property manager and really working things out with the property. You want someone who has experience on the property side, has been trained, because if I have a golf outing on Tuesday, I don't want to just cancel it. Or maybe I would if I spoke to a vendor, but if I can actually speak to the hotel and say, you know what, maybe I can move my time.
Right.
So a lot of it is it's more leveraging technology than really replacing your structure with a third-party solution.
And I would imagine also one of the benefits to this type of software, coming out of COVID, we're all a little people shy, right? We want as few interactions as we can get. And this kind of allows you to plan out multiple levels of things for your family to do with as little interaction as possible.
That's right. And it's amazing. We do a lot of amenities where obviously you could order chocolate and strawberries for your friends and a birthday, anniversary, things like that. But a lot of times now you want to order amenities for yourself, for your own journey. And guests didn't know it was available to them. Perhaps I want certain champagne in my room or want water in my room. Now, every time we go on vacation, we're always looking for water bottles.
Right.
Do I go to a local supermarket? But what if the property could have that waiting for me in my room? Same thing with sunscreen. How do I pack sunscreen? How do I, do I want to waste the whole suitcase just to have sunscreen in it? Perhaps the property could have it waiting for me, sand toys, things like that, wool rafts. But also, not just things waiting for me, but what other packages are available to me? So instead of looking for valet parking or things like that, perhaps I can get a parking package that might include a cabana rental and access to certain items or certain events that are happening on property. We do a lot of water parks, so water park tickets or event tickets, Christmas show tickets, things like that. So we see a lot of properties taking advantage of the idea of bundling items or creating packages where you really can have an upgraded experience. We were looking at especially on the luxury side, but now it's gotten to full service and select service as well. We wanted to offer a guest at every level of value. So the concept here with the properties is, how do we offer value to the guests? They're coming to the property. Everything's going to be expensive for them because it's vacation. But how do we make it easier for them? Possibly make it less expensive for them. If they didn't have to go to all these outside places, they can do everything in the hotel. So here the hotel can procure everything, but make it more of a streamlined experience for the guest and their journey.
So I have to ask, I'm sure you have seen thousands of excursions and activities. Is there something that has really stuck out to you that is the new wave or something that was unexpected for a guest that that your app works really well for?
Yeah, we've seen a lot of different things, especially with COVID, coming out of COVID. We've seen a lot of things where the business traveler is still hurting, and properties are looking at every usable space to create an experience. And we know that the guest is up. There's a lot of occupancy for really, really high occupancies for people who want to travel. But the business side is down. So we're seeing very creative solutions from properties. We have this great solution with a few of the Hyatts that just got rolled out, I think, a few months ago, where they worked with Peloton bikes and they created a Peloton bike studio that you can reserve as a hotel guest, and you reserve it hourly or whatever the timeline is here. But instead of bringing all this heavy equipment or finding a local gym that has Peloton, you can go into the Hyatt and you can reserve your time there as a guest. We do a lot of stuff with Top Golf has been a big thing with swing suites. We could reserve a Top Golf experience in a meeting room. So now you have a whole kind of game scenario where we're looking at using space for other purposes. We've done this great project with Sheridan called Sheridan Studios. And what they did is they did physical construction in their lobbies. And you can reserve a meeting room, about 6 to 8 people. They have about 4 of them per hotel. And this is global. And what happens, you can reserve a meeting room for perhaps as an event that you want to have like a few people at, but more like for work folks that they can escape to a hotel. And in this case, it's Sheridan, and use their meeting rooms and not book a whole conference with group sales and rooms. It's more about small meeting rooms, the purpose of just having gatherings for whatever purpose it might be.
Yeah, like taking your team off site, right? It's a fresh window to look out of, and you take a small team off site, and it's a nice out for the day.
Exactly right. And they also might be staying in the hotel anyway and using it as a meeting room. Or maybe before a convention, they could have a group gathering. So yeah, there's a lot of purposes for this, but this really didn't take place before COVID. Everything was more focused on business travel, and I'm kind of slowly seeing a change towards more of the vacationer, of the hotel guest.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the challenges of the hotels and resorts are facing right now is obviously labor shortages. It's all over the news. And now that travel is picking back up, what is your take on that? Like, how does that look for you?
Yeah, I think there's always going to be struggles in labor. I think that it's more about leveraging technology as opposed to replacing labor. We've always been a big supporter of hospitality, workers and the careers. And you have the smartest people in the world working in hospitality. And now we're able to see what else can you do leveraging technology as opposed to who can we replace with technology. So we see a lot of things where we're streamlining operations with hotel staff. They're able to leverage concepts. You look at what we do for live food ordering on the pool deck area, where you'd have a situation where staff was really tough for them to make a lot of ground up on these large beaches or large pool areas. And now you're able to use technology to have the guests order food for themselves, or quick orders by themselves, or have runners deliver food over there. So you're not looking at really replacing staff. You're looking at, I can't order 1,000 waitress or waiters on the property. What if I kept my current staff, but enhanced it by having guests order as well? And then logistics, how do I have a runner bring food out? Can I save time by having, we have all integrations into the point of sale. So we have integration into Micro Symphony, for instance. So you'd have the staff, the guest make an order, it goes right into the point of sale. The check could be closed without even a signature if you wanted to. How much operation time does that save?
Right.
If I don't have to have the wait staff actually bring a folio over to the guest to sign, what better experience is that for the guest? So you have different ways of really optimizing, each minute of the day. And a lot of that wasted time that was spent just waiting for the Micros terminal to print up the receipt can really be avoided. And it's a better experience. And it's amazing because we were looking at the gratuity part of, would the gratuity be more or less if everything was automated? There was a big concern from the staffing side is, I don't want to lose my gratuity if you replace me with an automated system. And what we found is that the gratuities are actually greater because the guests are tipping pretty much, or putting gratuities on their checks based on their level of satisfaction, overall status, how they're being treated overall. So it's a very interesting, it was a very long experiment that we really did, but it seems like it works out for the staff and works out for the guests.
I love it. What's your vision for RealTime? Where does it go next?
Yeah, I think we look at all parts of inventory, and we really look at every part of space that you can rent, a yoga class, gym classes, a shuttle bus seat, a spot in a boat, a marina slip, cabana, and how do we price it? How do we yield manage it? We look at a lot of things that we're doing right now that is for the overnight guest as well as for the day guest. How is that priced differently if you're a local versus if you're an overnight guest? We work with a lot of distribution companies now, so you could have a lot more exposure if you have a Thanksgiving Day lunch, really get it out there so everyone can see it. So we see a lot more in terms of exposure of the items of the events, yield management for the hotels so they can actually optimize pricing. And we see a lot of audit trails now, a lot of seeing who's touching what, who's seeing what's out there. So we see a lot of that on the accounting side as well. But we see a lot of offerings given out to the guest. There's a lot more procurement of opportunities when the guests arrive, as well as pre-arrival. As we notice that the food and beverage guys would say to us, if you give us 24 hours, we can get any bottle of alcohol. If you and the guys at the marina says, if you give us 3 days, we can get any kind of boat. And then we have different types of the golf pro and the basketball coach, things like that, where if they had a certain amount of time, they could be on property offering services. So you look at the pre-arrival concept, and if I'm going away 6 months from now, I should have an offering of whatever I want to do. And so many different things in these properties, these experiences could be so great. And the properties could actually bring on experts in those areas, marine biologists, and have a boat ride with them. And that really the guests would appreciate. Because I think once the guest is on property, it's harder to, think on the fly, so to speak. Right. But if we can create an experience that you book ahead of time, you can get all of these things to do. It's really nice. And a lot of times the guests would prefer working with the property than working on a third-party website for all the city bus tours concept. So we really give a lot of the power back to the hotel, create whatever you want, put it right into the micro symphony terminal when the guests get there, accept credit cards on behalf of guests. And then you have a real working kind of system. It's really a destination more than just a hotel. It's everything outside the room as well.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to hear, you work in hospitality. What do you do to recharge? Where do you go? What do you like to see happen?
To recharge for me is visiting our hotels. We work with the best hotels in the world, and the things that they're doing, and it's just absolutely incredible. The most beautiful beaches, the most beautiful cities. It's not hard to get excited when you come to work every day in the places that we have to work. We're forced to work in the most beautiful places in the world. So it's really for me, I like to explore new things that are coming in, that are being introduced to hospitality. We see a lot of things where it's a longer term rentals, Airbnb kind of housing stuff is getting interesting. A lot of times these kind of houses are using hotel systems. We see a lot of opportunities in memberships, beach memberships, spa memberships, where hotels are realizing that they can reserve portions of the week, perhaps, or portions of maybe during the week is a better time to have a gym membership for the hotel. You have these beautiful tennis courts and golf courses, and pools and gyms. People would love to work there. Instead of working out at the local gym, they love to come to a hotel. So how do we actually work on that when you have low occupancy times? So we're looking at a lot of memberships, beach memberships that include certain concepts, spa memberships. So it's fun to explore that when I'm on my time off. It seems we're always kind of working. It's nice when the employees here can go on a vacation, and yet somehow they're on the beach relaxing and they have an idea. And that idea, they talk to the staff at the hotel, and it's not even work. It's more of a, sitting with the food and beverage guy, perhaps as a coconut, area. They get a drink over there with some fresh thing that just came up, and an idea kind of springs in their mind. So it's kind of like we pretty much are 24/7 hospitality people, looking at ways for us to enjoy our vacation, but also for the hotel's guests to really enjoy their vacation.
Right. Okay. For anybody out there listening, how would you like people to get a hold of you?
So from a perspective of everyone looking at our site, not really the hotel guests, but more about hotels, realtimereservation.com is our website. We have demos on there that some of them are canned as well, so you can really see what the booking experience is like, whether it's parking or food and beverage or a yoga class, perhaps, or cabana rentals. And it's really just pretty much seeing us probably at all the hotels anyway now. We're so white labeled, there's no trace of us anywhere. So whatever property you go into, when you book a cabana, there's a good chance you book it through us.
Nice. Shawn, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.